You haven't earned ease yet. Hard work is not the enemy. Failing to convert it into judgment, systems, and leverage is. So I watched Nightcap at Fanatics Fest a couple weeks ago, interviewing some of the most recognizable people in sports and entertainment. Talking about Roman Reigns and oh man, you guys forgive me. I can't remember the guy's name. I don't really watch basketball, but the great shooter from the New York Knicks. My apologies for not remembering his name, but him also. And what interested me was not merely the interviews, it was the ecosystem. Nightcap had become so developed, recognizable, and branded that it could enter into another massive business ecosystem without losing its own identity. That really interested me and inspired me, especially like what Shannon Sharp is building. It did not look like three people who had simply arrived with microphones. And the three people I'm talking about, Shannon Sharp, Chad Ochocinco, Joe ISO Johnson. This excited me. It reminded me of what consistent work can eventually become. A person begins with an idea, the idea becomes content, the content becomes a recognizable signal. The signal develops an audience, the audience becomes distribution. Distribution creates what? Products, partnerships, access, influence, revenue, and eventually an ecosystem. But everyone wants to discuss the ecosystem. Far fewer people want to discuss the years when the ecosystem did not exist, the quiet years, the confusing years. And to be honest with you, to be completely transparent, I'm in those years right now. I am in the building phase. I am in the process. I do not have it all. I cannot specifically tell you with a straight face and be so sure on how to make money as of right now, or how I am making money by myself, because right now, to be completely transparent and authentic and honest with you, and to keep my dignity, I am not making money just solely for myself. This is the whole point why I am building the distribution right now. But one thing you can be for sure is that I am practicing exactly what I preach. I am doing exactly what I am writing and what I am telling you, because these are the things that I am using the resources of me figuring out on my own. Everything that I write, everything that I talk about, everything that I am currently building is a direct reflection of my reality and the process of me figuring out how to expand. No, forget expand. How to evolve my reality. That is why, hence, my North Star of my business is personal evolution. Hence why I named my entire parent company Utopia. Everything is, and when I say Utopia, Youtopia, you are the niche. You are the utopian society that most of you want to live in. Forget the externalities right now. Expand the wealth within you, and wherever you go, produce, be useful, create value, so that way you can be a valuable person. That is my belief, that is my philosophy, and I see that it is working very slowly and very surely. These videos is documentation of what, for the proven process, and it is the documentation, and it is going to be the proven blueprint of who I am going to be in the future. And if anybody asks me, oh, how did you get to this? How did you do this? How did you X, Y, and Z? So much I'm like, as you can see, how people will try to figure out how people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, how they got there. These videos is a living proof of documentation of that blueprint. The years when the work was not elegant, the strategy was incomplete, the audience was small, and confidence had to be manufactured through repetition. This is the point that I'm talking about. This is where the confidence comes. Repetition, through reps, through hard work, through work ethic. If you are an athlete, you know the confidence comes from you putting all the work in. The blood, the sweat, the tears, the injuries, the hurt, the pain, the consistent of getting up 4 o'clock in the morning when you don't want to, the consistency of still going into the weight room and still running gassers in 100-degree heat on a football field after your girlfriend broke up with you or cheated on you, but you still decided to go and keep pushing and to keep fighting and keep training. That's where the confidence come in. That's how you grow your confidence. You don't have to be an athlete to have that type of confidence. You don't have to be a boxer or whatever to have that type of confidence. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to have that type of confidence. You just have to do the consistent work week in, week out, day in, day out, every single day for you to build that confidence. That's how you build the confidence. It's through the consistent hard work. I have written some enormous objectives for myself. Begin now, get ready, make money, build wealth, and stay focused. Continue my personal evolution. Reach more than 1 million subscribers or followers across each of my major social platforms. Across 5 platforms that will become 5 million platform subscriptions carrying the same intellectual universe. This is what I'm currently building, and this is what I am pursuing. That is not merely a vanity objective. No, don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. It is a distribution objective. That is the goal. But the size of the vision creates an immediate question. What does the person with that level of reach do today? Not eventually, not when inspired, not when every emotional problem had disappeared. Today. Confidence is evidence. People often talk about confidence as though it is a personality trait. Some people supposedly have it, others supposedly do not. But confidence is often much less mysterious than that. Confidence is accumulated evidence. It is the memory of keeping promises to yourself. It is knowing that when you say you are going to write, study, train, publish, work, or build, you have a history of doing it. Work ethic creates that evidence. Every completed responsibility becomes a vote for the person you claim you are becoming. And this is the thing. I run into some people, and I've dated some women, I'm going to be honest, that say they have low confidence. And the question about it is that if I really was being completely honest with you all, and why do these women that I've dated, and why do some of these people that I meet, or that you probably will meet, will have low confidence? Why is that the case? It's not a trick question. I just answered it. Lack of work ethic. I try to understand myself and be like, why do I have so much confidence? Why do I believe I can literally do anything? Because I put in desperate, obsessive work. And I've been doing it ever since I've been a kid. I've never been a stranger to hard work, to diligence. Never have. And so when you have that tenacity, that relentless pursuit of just putting in the work and just believing that all I got to do is work extremely hard and I can achieve this, there is no lack of confidence in that. And when you consistently keep doing that, the confidence just explodes, and then you become arrogant to other people. But it's not even arrogance. It's just you are actually not arrogant. The reality, the act of consistent diligence eliminates arrogance. Why? Because if you were so arrogant, you wouldn't be so bloodthirsty for being curious to understand, to put in the work, to develop the skills, the techniques. I will say the ones who do not put in the work, who do not have the work ethic, are completely arrogant. Those are the ones that we have to stay away from. And when I say we, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The ones who watches this video, the ones who reads my letters, the ones who follows my brand, the ones who buys into my philosophy. We have to stay away from them. Because why? We are not going to be so focused. There is not an amount of focus in the world for you to distract yourself of being around an individual who is a master manipulator, who is king of distraction. You will be distracted. You have to preserve your attention by all means necessary. I am speaking from experience. I'm telling you right now. People are going to curse you. People are going to make you feel bad. People are going to do they're going to say all types of things to you. They're going to manipulate the hell out of you. And what you have to do is you have to preserve yourself from those type of individuals, male or female, romantic partner or friend, family member or not, whoever it is. You have to preserve yourself, and you have to use, I'm not going to say you have to use your discernment and judgment of excluding those people out of your life. You have to do it. You have to sit down and ask yourself, which is more important? Is it the future that I set out for myself, or is it just this temporary person that I just want to just have around so I can feel good about myself and who feeds into my ego? You got to ask which one is more important. And I know this is easier said than done, but the more you do this, the more you build, the more you create, the more you work, the more you train your body. And not just talking about just studying and building businesses and creating value. I'm talking about also in the gym, on the field, on the track, in the pool, on the beach, running sprints in sand, hill sprints, training your body as an athletepreneur, like a Roman god or Greek soldier or whatever. a warrior, a samurai, training yourself, entrepreneurial, as an entrepreneur, a creator, and an athlete, combining those things. I promise you, you stay consistent with that. Do not allow the filth to get in, because it will knock you off your track. It will. There is not an amount of focus in the world. Jesus even had to go separate himself from society 40 days and 40 nights. He had to. So he had to go out to the wilderness, study the wilderness, study why is the Bible always talks about the wilderness? What is so important about the wilderness? You're going to have to go into the wilderness. You're going to have to go into hibernation. You are going to have to go into dark mode. And you're going to have to stay there until you finally reach and succeed to the top of where you're trying to get to. It hurts. It's a lot of pain. But what's going to keep you intact is like, what's so good about pain sometimes? What separates all pain is not created equal. There is some pain that you experience pain and there's no purpose behind it. What makes that pain, what keeps you to keep going through that pain is when you in your mind, psychologically, when you say to yourself, when you think to yourself that this is why, that vision, the future, this is why I'm going through this right now. Every responsibility repeatedly abandoned becomes evidence against that identity. I'll say that again. Every responsibility repeatedly abandoned becomes evidence against that identity. This is why confidence cannot always be spoken into existence. At some point, confidence must be worked into existence. This is where I'm getting at. This is good. You must give your mind proof. The mind remembers every time you surrender to discomfort. It also remembers every time you continue despite it. The mind wants veto power. There are mornings when I do not want to work. There are nights when I wake up thinking about someone who is no longer in my life. There are moments when loneliness enters the room. Bills continue increasing and the future feels unnecessarily heavy. These experiences are real. They are not imaginary simply because they are inconvenient. In physiology, visceral refers to the internal organs. Something visceral is felt deeply inside. Consciousness means awareness, but awareness is not the same as command. I can be conscious of pain without granting pain authority over my schedule. I can be aware of loneliness without allowing loneliness to decide what gets completed. I can feel something viscerally without allowing it to become sovereign. That distinction matters. The problem is not that painful thoughts appear. The problem begins when every thought is given veto power. A thought enters. What is that person doing now? And suddenly the day is interrupted. Another thought enters. What if I made a mistake? And the work stops again. Then another. What if I am alone for a long time? And an entire future is built from one distressed moment. At some point, an internal command must interrupt the process. This may hurt, but it does not get to run the day. Sometimes the command may need to be even simpler. Who cares? Work. That does not mean the pain is meaningless. It means the pain is not the present responsibility. There is a time to examine an emotion. There is also a time to refuse to be governed by it. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Reality has already answered. When a relationship ends, the mind often tries to keep holding a trail after reality has already delivered the verdict. You replay conversations. You reconsider what you did. You imagine what the other person may be doing. You prosecute yourself. Then you defend yourself. Then you reopen the case the next morning. But there is one fact that remains unchanged. The relationship is no longer continuing. That does not automatically mean it should never have happened. A meaningful experience can still reach its limit. Two people can genuinely care about each other and still lack the structure, compatibility, maturity, timing, judgment, or shared direction required to continue. The ending does not prove that every previous moment was fraudulent. It proves that the relationship could not survive in the form it had taken. Reality has already given the most important answer. The question is no longer, how do I mentally return to what existed? The question becomes, what did this reveal about my judgment? Standards, needs, weaknesses, attachments, and decisions. History is valuable when it becomes instruction. History becomes destructive when it becomes resonance. Study the signs you ignored. Study where emotion overruled judgment. Study what you tolerated. Study what you misunderstood. Study what you did well. Extract the law, then choose the foul. The person may no longer be present. The work still is. Force is not a dirty word. There is a popular category of advice telling people they should not have to force themselves to work. The argument usually sounds enlightened. Find work you love. Follow your energy. Build around your natural interests. Design systems that make execution effortless. There is truth inside that advice. Please don't get me wrong. There really is. And it's very true. And it's great advice. But it is often stage blind. Advice that is useful for someone with money, experience, an audience, a developed skill stack, a controlled environment, and years of accumulated leverage may be destructive for someone who has none of those things yet. A person at the beginning may not know what work naturally fits. They may not have a productive environment. They may not possess useful systems. They may not have enough evidence to trust their instincts. They may still be conditioned toward avoidance, consumption, distraction, and comfort. That person may have to force the first movement, force the first page, force the first hour of study, force the first application, force the first workout, force the first uncomfortable conversation, force the first product into existence. This is not necessarily a sign that the work is wrong. Sometimes it is a sign that the old conditioning is still stronger than the new objective. People repeat behaviors until those behaviors become easier. But before repetition can produce fluency, someone must survive being a beginner. Beginners are inefficient. Beginners hesitate. Beginners make errors. Beginners expend enormous energy, completing actions that experienced people can perform almost automatically. That is not failure. That is the biological and economic cost of adaptation. The danger is not force itself. The danger is believing force should remain the permanent operating system. Force is ignition. It is not the engine. Hard work must graduate. Working hard should not carry a stigma. There are periods when hard work is the only resource a person fully controls. They may not possess capital, they may not possess connections, they may not possess rare expertise, they may not know the highest leverage route, but they can begin. They can take the opportunities that are currently available. They can work with incomplete information. They can collect evidence. They can become wrong quickly enough to begin getting something right. The mistake is not working hard. The mistake is working hard without learning. Hard work must graduate. First, you forced yourself to act. Then you document what you did. Then you study the result. Then you identify unnecessary effort. Then you improve the method. Then you build a repeatable system. Then you introduce tools, technology, delegation, automation, capital, or distribution. Eventually, the same output should require less waste. That is what progress looks like. The beginner uses 10 units of effort because they possess 1 unit of judgment. The experienced person may produce more with 3 units of effort because they possess 10 units of judgment. The reduced effort did not appear through magic. It was purchased by earlier effort, observation, failure, correction, and accumulated knowledge. Brute force is sometimes tuition, but continuing to pay the same tuition after learning the lesson is not discipline, it is negligence. Every difficult period should purchase a better future method. Every failure should refine judgment. Every exhausting work cycle should reveal where a system is missing. Every repeated action should eventually become easier, faster, more precise, or more valuable. Otherwise, the difficulty is not compounding, it is merely repeating. Do not die trying. Get rich or die trying contains an emotional truth, and I'm living with that. Economic urgency is real. Bills do not disappear because someone is unmotivated. Poverty does not become not noble because a person has good intentions. There are moments when someone must work longer, accept imperfect opportunities, sacrifice comfort, and operate under pressure. You do what you have to do. But taking literally die trying is an incomplete doctrine. The objective is not to destroy yourself while attempting to build wealth. Again, there are sacrifices and there are things you got to do what you got to do. I just acknowledge that. But the objective is to remain alive, capable, healthy, intelligent, and healthy long enough for your efforts to compound. Your body is the first business. Your mind is productive infrastructure. Your attention is capital. Your energy is a limited operating budget. Destroying the machinery does not prove commitment to the mission. It compromises the mission. There may be nights of sacrifice. There may be temporary discomfort. There may be seasons when ideal balance is unavailable, but deprivation itself is not productivity. Exhaustion is not evidence that useful work occurred. Suffering is not a key performance indicator. If I am too tired to drive safely, continuing to drive is not exceptional discipline. It is poor judgment. If you sleep in your car merely to feel as though you are suffering for the mission, the suffering has become theater. The objective is not to make your life unnecessarily brutal. The objective is to construct an environment that produces the required behavior. Comfort is not automatically the enemy. Uncommanded comfort is. An apartment can become a place of recovery or a place of avoidance. A car can become transportation or an escape. A phone can become a production instrument or a casino in the hand. The object is not inherently responsible. The way it is being used is. I may need to leave my apartment when it is making me passive. I may need to work from another environment until a responsibility is complete. I may need stricter hours, harder constraints, fewer options, and greater consequences. But I do not need to perform poverty or deprivation to prove that I am serious. The environment should serve the work. The work should not become an excuse to destroy the worker. The new operating sequence, the priority of my new system is straightforward. Force myself to begin what I already know must be done. Not force forever, begin. The first movement matters because the mind often creates its strongest resistance before the action starts. Once movement begins, information appears. The page reveals the next sentence. The workout reveals the actual condition of the body. The market reveals whether the offer has value. The audience reveals whether the message is clear. Reality cannot respond to an action that remains trapped inside the imagination. So the operating sequence becomes begin. Complete one measurable unit of work. Document what happened. Study the result. Correct the method. Build the correction into a system. Repeat until the behavior requires less negotiation. This is how force becomes discipline. Discipline becomes evidence. Evidence becomes confidence. Confidence increases capacity. Capacity creates leverage. Leverage creates wealth. The objective is not to wait until I possess the perfect motivation. Motivation is volatile. Inspiration is valuable, but it arrives irregularly. Direction must remain when both disappear. I can use inspiration to see what may be possible. I can use motivation to create temporary intensity. But I need systems and standards to continue after the emotional electricity is gone. This is where systems are important. Hard work does more than produce results. It produces information. Every attempt reveals something about the terrain, where resistance exists, which assumptions were wrong, what resources are missing, and which route demands unnecessary force. That information must update the map. The destination may remain fixed while the route changes repeatedly. That is not inconsistency. It is intelligent adaptation. It is intelligent adaptation. The hard work should not only make you stronger, it should make you harder to misdirect. My phone went off and it kind of distracted me. Make the difficult pay. I do not currently possess every resource I will eventually have. I do not know every correct strategy. My environment is not perfectly designed. My income is not yet where it needs to be. This is me speaking from a personal note. My audience is not yet the size I intend to build. My work has not yet reached its most sophisticated form. That means there will be force. For me personally, there will be inefficient effort. There will be moments when I must move without feeling ready. But every difficult day must purchase something. What should it purchase? More judgment, more skill, more evidence, more income, more useful work, a better system, a clearer standard, a stronger body, a larger body of intellectual property, a deeper understanding of reality. I refuse to suffer without extracting instruction. I refuse to work hard without studying the work. I refuse to let emotional pain repeatedly consume hours without converting some portion of that pain into wisdom. I refuse to let increasing bills become evidence that I should stop. They are evidence that my economic system must improve. I refuse to wait for confidence before acting. The action will produce the confidence. I refuse to require certainty before beginning. Reality will provide information after movement. I refuse to give every thought authority. Consciousness allows me to observe what is happening inside of me. Sovereignty allows me to decide what happens next. The work may eventually become elegant. The systems may eventually become sophisticated. The leverage may eventually allow fewer hours to produce greater results. And it's me saying all this is making me think that the more I do these videos, the more I write. Just do that. The more I do these videos, the more I write. The more I will have a clearer understanding and a more direct strategic path and leverage of building the wealthy lifestyle that I want, because I am actually talking to myself and I am like figuring things out. And then I can create more value. I can create more useful products, digital or tangible, for myself to prosper over and for you to prosper over. This is the whole point. The leverage may eventually allow fewer hours to produce greater results. That's the key. But the ease must be constructed. It must be earned through work that learns. For now, we will begin, we will work, we will observe, we will document, we will correct, we will build. Then return tomorrow with a better method than the one you used today. Use force to begin. Use reality to correct. Use systems to reduce the force. Use standards to preserve the progress. Do not wait to feel ready. Begin now and make today's difficult pay for tomorrow's ease. Let that stick with you. Ingrain that into your subconscious. Have that be part of your identity. Make today's difficult pay for tomorrow's ease. Thank you all so much for watching. And appreciate you for all of your support. And I'm going to be back very soon. You know this. Deuces.